Sometimes a final score, say 31-11, just tells you who won a football game. Pretty simple. But every once in a while, a score like that tells a way bigger story. A story about history, about decades of frustration, and about a curse finally being broken. So let's dive into this absolutely stunning night in Gainesville.
Okay, get this number in your head. 2003. That's it. That 1 year. For an entire generation of Tennessee players and fans, that number was like a ghost. Why? Because it was the last time the Volunteers had won in their rival stadium. We're talking a 22-year drought that defined a whole era of this rivalry.
So to really get why this victory was so massive, you have to understand the sheer weight of that history. This was never just another game on the schedule. For Tennessee, this was a psychological mountain they just had to climb.
And that mountain? It has a name: the Swamp. Now, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium is legendary. It's one of the toughest, most hostile places to play in all of college football. And for Tennessee, it had become a total house of horrors, the site of 10 consecutive losses heading into this game.
And the stakes here were just unbelievably high for both teams. On one side, you've got Tennessee staring down this decade of complete futility in Gainesville. And on the other, well, Florida was protecting one of the most incredible streaks in sports history. They had scored points in 471 straight games. I mean, something had to give, right?
So, with all that history, all that pressure hanging in the air, how did the game actually play out? Well, to put it bluntly, it was over almost before it even began. Tennessee didn't just win. They launched an absolute onslaught in that first half.
Just look at this. By the end of the first quarter, the Volunteers were already up 14-0. They marched down and scored on their first 2 drives, and just like that, a sold-out home crowd was taken completely out of the game, silenced.
And from there, it only got worse for Florida, a lot worse. By the time the teams headed into the locker room for halftime, the score was a staggering 31-0. It was one of the most lopsided, dominant 30 minutes of football that Florida had seen in decades.
And believe me, that score was no fluke. The stats tell the exact same story. Tennessee outgained Florida by over 200 yards in the first half alone. This was just pure physical domination on both sides of the ball.
Let's break it down, because it's wild. Tennessee scored touchdowns on their first 4 drives. 4 for 4. They racked up 19 first downs, while Florida couldn't even manage a single one until well into the second quarter. It was a complete clinic.
You don't need a better summary than the one from Florida's own interim head coach, Billy Gonzalez. His assessment after the game was so blunt, so accurate. He just said, "We couldn't get them off the field." That says it all, doesn't it?
So with the game basically decided by halftime, the story starts to shift. It goes from what's happening on the field to what's happening in the stands. And what happened next was a scene you almost never witness in college football, a full-scale takeover of a rival stadium.
Just try to picture this. You've got a sold-out crowd, over 90,000 people. But with their team getting absolutely demolished 31-0, a mass exodus began at halftime. The home crowd just vanished.
And for the Tennessee players, the feeling was just overwhelming. Their tight end, Ethan Davis, who actually scored the first touchdown, he captured it perfectly. He said it wasn't just joy, it was relief. You could just feel the weight of those 22 years finally being lifted.
And into that empty space left by all the departing Florida fans, this incredible sound started to pour in. It was the sound of Tennessee's celebration. The visiting fans, all dressed in orange, they stayed long after the final whistle, and you could hear their songs just echoing through the empty stadium. And the exclamation point on the whole night, that came from Tennessee's quarterback, Joey Aguilar. After sealing this historic win, he turns to the stands and defiantly does the Gator Chomp. I mean, that is the ultimate symbol of conquering enemy territory.
When he was asked about it later, Aguilar's response was just perfect. He didn't see it as just some taunt. He saw it as a rite of passage. He said after 2 decades of losing here, winning and doing that, it's mandatory.
But a game this lopsided, this historic, it's not just a result, it's a signpost. And this one is pointing to 2 rival programs that are heading in very, very different directions.
For Tennessee, this win is part of a bigger pattern under Coach Josh Heupel. This guy is a professional curse breaker. I mean, he ended the losing streak to top 25 teams. He's the one who finally beat Alabama after 15 years. He beat Florida at home. And now this,
finally winning in the Swamp, he is systematically rewriting his program's entire story.
And here's a little twist of painful irony for you. Guess who was on the field being honored by Florida that night? None other than their former coach, Urban Meyer, the very man who started that 10-game home winning streak against Tennessee way back in 2005. He was literally there to watch his legacy of dominance crumble.
And in the end, the final records really tell the whole story. Tennessee finishes the season 8-3, riding high on this momentum. But for Florida, this humiliating loss cemented a 3-8 record. It was the program's first 8-loss season in over a decade. A tough, new low point.
So, all of this leaves us with one final thought. When a 22-year curse is shattered and a proud program hits rock bottom all on the same night, you've really got to ask, whose path was changed more? The team that finally won, or the team that so spectacularly lost?